guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we can grab some coffee?
Coffee, 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 coffee.
God damn, Jimmy. This is some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Good morning and welcome to Pop Culture Minefield's Morning Coffee with Chris. My name is Christopher Moonlight, and today we are talking not only pop culture news, but our main theme today is Evil Dead. Jennifer Lawrence is here, thinking she's the first ever. Get out of here, Jennifer Lawrence. We know it was Ripley. So, yes, Evil Dead, and there's some pop culture news today that we're going to be covering as well. Good morning, Scribe Light. And one of those items is actually something the Scribe suggested. So, without further ado, let's get on with it. And Anima Confucia is lurking today. She's lurking in the shadows and running errands, as well as Monkey Jeebus. Thank you, come again. I am never late. I arrive exactly when I mean to. Anyway, so let's bring in the panel. First off, Das Wolfen, John. Good morning.
Groovy.
Yeah, we're getting groovy today. Getting oozy and groovy. And I should be drinking Fuel Up. You're absolutely right. Let's it's good stuff. We'll talk about that when the sponsor codes come in, and I can tell you where to all get it. And of course, Martin, the rock for which we all crash against. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Chris, I need to ask you something.
Yes,
about
sir.
The Fuel Up. Does it need some sugar, baby?
It gives me some sugar, baby. I mean, I don't know if we should be talking about it before we get the codes and that sort of thing, but I will say this. I really like it. I have been drinking it every day since I got my samples, and I've also been giving it to my wife who has autoimmune deficiency issues. She has to take an immunity suppressant, and therefore when she gets sick, which she is right now, it lasts forever. She's had walking pneumonia, which has been hanging on for a crazy amount of time. And Fuel Up has a bunch of vitamin infusion stuff, so I've been letting her drink it as well. And it seems to be kind of helping her get through it. I'm not saying it's a medicine or anything like that, but just vitamins and minerals and all that sort of thing. You know, it's hard to get her to take her vitamins. So if I give it to her in a powder drink, because she's always doing teas and stuff anyway, she's getting it. So it really came at the right time. So let's welcome everyone in the chat, by the way. Of course, we have Jennifer Lawrence. She's stalking me. D-Bud Martin, Scribe Light, who is my neighbor on the moon, Anima Confucia, Cam's Crash Course, and Shadow Dragon. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. I would say before we get going, let's thank our sponsors, one of which is going to be Fuel Up, but not officially yet. So I'll just mention that, I like Fuel Up, and we'll have details on how you can order yours with codes soon when we are on KGRA. Also, if we can get my screen up, I would like to encourage you all to head on over to my Subscribe Star if you want to support me personally, and I do live stream on my own YouTube channel. Subscribestar.com/Christopher Moonlight, which you can find through my link tree. So if you want to follow me on social media, first of all, we are doing Escape from Planet Omega 12. It is happening. I have been talking to name talents, which I can't mention yet, but I'm very excited about. But we do need your support. And if you support me on Subscribestar, you will help to make Escape from Planet Omega 12 a reality. And that is, of course, on here. You can, again, you can get a link to where to watch the Quantum Terror. It'll take you here, and it'll give you the trailer and all the options. So it's on Tubi, Filmzy, and Amazon Prime. Before we watch the trailer, which I always like to play, oops, let's see, clicking on the wrong screen. So if you go to my Subscribestar, you do get exclusive content. It is, as you can see, kind of a over 18 thing. You will also be able to find, if you're not a subscriber, some free content like this article that I just wrote for ironage.media about what I think the future of independent filmmaking will look like in part. And I did not generate this image, but it is an AI generated image. You will also get exclusive content behind the scenes. This is not available. This video is some of our motion capture tests. So you will be helping to support the creation of Escape from Planet Omega 12, an animated science fiction adventure for adults. It's not adults like that kind of for adults. It's just not for kids. It's kind of sexy. It's got action and violence and practical effects, puppets mixed with CGI and hand-drawn animation. So that's who it's brought to you. And let's just go ahead and watch this trailer for the Quantum Terror in case you haven't seen it, because this is a movie that I would like you to go watch on Tubi, Amazon Prime, or Filmzy if you're international. So let's go for it. Oops.
She thought she'd found something in one of her books that lined up with her research. She put them together, and then she told me she talked to someone from another dimension.
Sylvia is one of the brightest students I've ever known.
We talked to the professor. He said that all those weird books belong to Jacob.
I'm not interested in anything you have to say unless you want to make a confession.
And that is Lovecraftian Madness, the Quantum Terror. So on with the show. Thank you for indulging me. It helps a lot. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It is difficult. I don't know if she wants me talking about it, but it is difficult watching someone you love deal with autoimmune disease. She handles it very well, and we do have good medications, but it's not a perfect situation. And also, when you support on Subscribestar, you help me to continue doing this stuff and help her out. So appreciate that. I'm just gonna have Martin or it's almost like my subconscious butchers your name on purpose. I notice every Instagram account usually has an OnlyFans too. Yeah. I don't need an OnlyFans. And I like to discourage OnlyFans. I don't know. It's kind of a sad situation seeing the OnlyFans, because, even if you become a celebrity on it, like, I don't know, you're gonna have to live with that. Eat cordyceps and lion's mane.
Lion's mane. Lion's mane.
Lion's mane. You got to wrestle the lion first. But
Well, you
all
practice
right.
with Mr. Spock already, so.
Yeah, right. Tiny house panther. So, if we can just bring the screen back, I wanted to cover a couple of items. One of which Scribe Light sent to me, which was Marvel delays 3 of the 2023 Disney Plus shows, reveals new report. So what were the shows? More Loki, Echo, I think. What was the one that Nick Fury was supposed to be a part of? I forgot already.
Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion, okay. And then What If Season 2, and then Agatha Harkness. So let's see what it says here. The new report looks to have revealed that 3 MCU Disney Plus series will be delayed out of 2023 as Marvel Studio looks to kick off its 3rd calendar year of releasing content on Disney's streaming platform. It is also going through a bit of a change. Release timing is always in flux at the MCU, but that is the cause right now more than ever, or case right now. Sorry. It's been made clear that Disney would be reducing its output over the next few years to focus on quality over quantity. While no exact specifics for what that actually means have been made public, it could mean the shuffling of MCU projects as the franchise's multiverse saga marches along, something that seems to be coming to fruition right now. So the projects are What If, Echo, and I think the other one was the Agatha Harkness. Is that how you say it? Harkness?
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, and as Agatha, which was confirmed for the winter of 2023 premiere at Marvel Studios' latest Comic-Con event, the Reddit posting declared the witchy WandaVision spinoff would release after Daredevil Born Again, likely in 2025. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but Agatha is the thing that I'm least excited about. And, you know, I always tend to think of this in terms of, you know, when it comes to Marvel or Star Wars or anything like that, you know, when we were kids, if something exciting was coming out that was science fiction or superhero or whatever it is, we would be looking for the toys. I don't see anybody. You can take care of that parody. I don't see. Oh, geez, my dog is going crazy. I think he wants to be let out. But I just don't see people going like, "Hey, I need to talk. I need to have the Agatha Harkness toy. Like, what kid is after that? You know, Daredevil. I could see. Same with Echo. I mean, I'm not overly familiar with Echo, except that I think it's a creation of David Max, who created Kabuki, and he came into the Marvel Universe through Brian Michael Bendis. They were friends. And I love David Mack's work, but he's always seemed like a, like an indie guy. Like he was doing these kind of surrealist watercolor paintings that were very beautiful, and Kabuki was very beautiful, and he did stuff like crossovers with Billy Tucci, and he did some stuff with Alex Ross, in that kind of comic book painter style. But again, I don't see people getting excited about a obscure deaf Native American superhero, for any other reason than it kind of pushes those check boxes, which again is a shame because David Mack, he does good work. And I don't think he did Echo as a checkbox thing. It was just an idea he had, and now it kind of fits into that narrative. David Mack is a Billy Tucci clone. Yeah, they kind of came around at the same time, I believe.
Hey,
I don't see them as clone. Just kind of, they both had that similar thing. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
I am not a fan of David Mack on a personal level. and I'm not a real big fan of his comic work in general. And his Star Trek books are mediocre at best.
Was that the same David Mack?
I think so.
I think that's a different David Mack. There's
I
two
thought
David
they were the
Mack.
same guy.
No, this David Mack that did Kabuki, I don't believe is the same David Mack that did Star Trek. Because David Mack that did Star Trek was a novelist, right?
I'm looking it up now.
And welcome to Joe's Atmosphere, my honorary oos. Yeah, so are these delays good or bad? After three separate reports pointing to this trio of shows getting moved out of 2023, it will likely be concerning for fans to hear all of those details corroborated and collected into one place by another set of sources. Of course, this could all be a part of Disney's new quality over quantity approach, but it could also be a sign of 3 series in turmoil. Well, again, I didn't even bother with What If. I mean, it just seems like a shaggy dog, pointless collection of stories that are kind of, and Peter Bakeman's fan site is here. Are the books based on JJ Rec? I think the books came along long before that. He's not a teen sensation like Billy Tucci. Well, Billy is just a fun guy. I met him a few years ago at, was it Austin Wizard World? I can't remember if it was a Wizard World or just Austin Comic Con. But he is a mutual friend of mine, Batten Lash, who did Supernatural Law, and God rest his soul, he's departed this earth. But yeah, let's see whether it is production troubles with Echo or the backed up and overworked animation pipeline impacting What If. There are plenty of factors to play that could be dragging these projects down. I think the main one is I just don't see a demand for these projects. I mean, we want Iron Man, we want Thor, we want Daredevil, we want The Punisher. Agatha Harkness is, I mean, she was a goofy character in a not very good series. I think WandaVision did so well because it was the first MCU series on Disney Plus, and everyone wanted to see what it was about. And it started off interesting, but it went south fast.
Yeah.
Did you find out?
Yeah, they're actually 2 separate people. I thought they were the same person.
Yep.
Yeah. There's David W. Mack and David Allen Mack, and the David Allen Mack is the one I don't like personally.
Oh, okay. So
he did do comics too, so that's what threw me off.
Sorry, the mailman's here, so the dogs are going to bark. I know David Mack as an acquaintance. David Mack, who did Kabuki, as an acquaintance for a long time when he was doing, I forget who he was originally publishing Kabuki through, but I was very interested in it when it first came out. And it was kind of in the same era as Alex Ross and also Dave McKean and Sandman. So there was kind of still a market. Well, first of all, there was still a comic book industry that wasn't completely destroyed. And there was a market for that kind of thing. It was kind of this meditative. It started off as a kind of an imitation of Alan Moore, where he was doing pen and ink work. And then as time wore on, he started to paint and do beautiful watercolor work. I actually have some prints of his, signed prints of his that I collected a long time ago, back when I used to visit San Diego Comic-Con. And I used to go say hi to him all the time and, buy a piece from him, a print. I couldn't afford any of the original work. And that was also at a time back when, a few tables down, Brian Michael Bendis was, there and available to talk to. He just started Ultimate Spider-Man, which I actually really enjoyed. Back then, I thought he was doing great work. It was different. It was original. But it was, we obviously saw the decline. And Joe's Atmosphere says, read a story just last week that Marvel is in talks with Robert Downey Jr. to bring back Tony for Secret Wars and Armor War.
I wasn't sure about Armor War, but I know he's talked about Secret War.
Yeah. Hold on a second, guys. You guys keep going without me. My dog is going crazy. He wants to go outside, and he's not gonna stop. He does not respect live, well, internet, YouTube. So you guys go on for a second. I'll be right back.
Well, I don't. I want to see Agatha Coven of Chaos before I see Echo. I have zero interest in Echo.
I
don't know.
I don't want to see any of that.
Well, I like the Agatha Harkness character in.
I found it annoying to no end in the series, and so I have no interest in seeing an annoying character.
Well, this I could see her being annoying. The one I'm upset about is them pushing back What If season 2.
Did you enjoy that?
Well, I loved What If.
I don't know. Was it different styles of animation? Because what I saw, it all looked kind of like 3D kind of stuff that was kind of, they were trying to make it look like it was 2D, but it just looked very stilted to me.
No.
I mean, did they do different styles of animation?
Oh, not really. I mean, I didn't notice that at all. I mean, I wasn't watching it for the animation's sake. I was watching it for the story.
So what if, what is it? T'Challa became Star-Lord? So did they do
that
something?
Was one of them, yeah.
How did that go? Did they do something like drastically different, or was it just kind of...
No. What happened was they got the wrong kid. They kidnapped the wrong kid. And they ended up kidnapping T'Challa out of the plains of Wakanda because he was out hunting. So they grabbed him instead of Peter Quill, and Peter Quill's life was just simply went back to being his original self, and working at the Dairy Queen, and but yeah, and so it was cool. I mean, I was more into Captain Carter than I was anything else of What If.
Well, they brought her into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
Are these supposed to be multiverse stories?
It's What If. It's based on the What If comics. Basically, yeah. I don't know if you know about the What If comics or not.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I get the concept. I just didn't know, because the What If concept comics were essentially just the Watcher saying, this is another way it could have gone. But it was kind of pre-multiverse.
It's a big multiverse thing.
So they could potentially tie in these multiversal characters into, like what are they doing with Ant-Man? Is it supposed to be the multiverse wars or something like that?
Well, Kang, the Kang Dynasty is the Avengers. Kang Dynasty is the culmination of that timeline or that storyline.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't the name What If imply that it's not canon?
Meanwhile, originally it was never was. It's like Elseworlds from DC.
So there is not part of the multiverse.
It's not. Well, that's it. They've changed that. That's what I'm trying to say is they've changed that, and in the MCU, What If is part of the multiverse.
Oh.
Welcome, by the way, to Farnsworth and Tomb of Dracula.
So there's a timeline out there, a multiverse, where Ultron got the Infinity gems and fought the Watcher and eventually gets tricked out of him by Killmonger.
Killmonger tricks the Watcher or Ultron?
Yeah, Killmonger became the Black Panther.
Yeah.
This is all
Killmonger becomes the Black Panther.
Here's the Black
because he's not. He can't. It's because it can't be T'Challa, because T'Challa got captured by Yondu and taken to space. So that left a void. So they brought. So instead of leaving him there when T'Chaka went to kill his brother for selling out secrets, he took Killmonger in and raised him as son.
T'Chaka?
T'Chaka.
T'Chaka.
Okay.
T'Chaka. Potato. Papa.
I think this is probably, unless you're really into the lore of all this stuff, I think this is why Marvel is having some trouble right now, because there has been a quantity over the aspect to this. And if you are a big, a fan that has time to immerse themselves in everything and follow along, it's a lot of fun. But I think as a company, they have to definitely sort out how do you, if it's someone who's just worrying about, what their day was like with work, and they picked up their kids from school and they're, sorting out dinner and bills and all that sort of thing. And then they finally get to sit down at the end of the day, with a glass of wine on the couch before they go to bed and watch something. It's definitely not meeting them halfway, which I think entertainment for the general audiences has to do. So I understand why they're kind of thinking to themselves, because they're losing billions of dollars. They lost billions of dollars last year on this stuff. So to have them, I can imagine them sitting down and going like, look, we're losing all this money and people are noping out because they don't, honestly, especially with like the Kang Wars, if you didn't watch Loki, and a lot of people didn't, and a lot of people who did were disappointed in it, and I watched it, and there were certain things, I've said this before, there's a good show in Loki somewhere, but between a lot of the confusing multiverse stuff and the fact that you have a scene where Loki's sitting there next to her, like consoling her, going, "You're amazing, you're the best Loki ever," and you're just like, I can see how they're looking at this going like, okay, how do we fix this? But personally, I think these shows, What If, I think that's probably a lower budget, it's animation, and it's kind of a fun arena to play around with. But I would, and again, David Mack, if you're listening, I love you, man, but I would, if I was in a board meeting at Disney, I'd be like, okay, we're dumping Echo and we're dumping Agatha, we really need to regroup and focus on, kind of like what Grant Morrison did with the Justice League. Let's focus on the core characters. Let's bring back Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman as a trio with kind of Green Lantern and the Flash on the periphery, make the core concepts strong again, because those are instantly recognizable characters.
That's the thing is, though, they just can't dump them. It's not like a comic where, okay, we can just reboot.
I think that they're at the point where they could reboot, honestly.
Yes, they could reboot, but they won't, because they've got so many irons in the fire at this point that they would lose billions doing that.
Well, they're already losing billions. This is what Zaslav with DC is kind of getting at, is throwing good money after bad. Let's just can Batwoman. Let's, I completely agree.
Batgirl.
Batgirl. Good morning, Keely Chow. The decision to get rid of Cavill was obviously a bad one, because he's a perfect Superman. And he could have been a flagship actor and character for the new DCU. But as far as Marvel goes, I just look at it and I see a mess. And
you've also got to look at it this way. How many properties is Marvel juggling compared to how many properties is DC juggling? DC isn't juggling but a handful compared to what Marvel's doing.
Yeah.
Marvel's just a juggernaut compared to DC. And that's just, the way it is. And yes, they could have used Cavill as the flagship, and I think he got screwed over. But I see Zaslav's point when he says boot it will do some people with younger because we have a 10-year plan.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Because Cavill can't do, well, he probably could, but it would be harder the older he gets to play Superman, keeping in the same shape that he is in now.
Yeah, if they were to do something like in the vein of Kingdom Come, it might be fun to bring him back later on down the line. But I think ultimately, I think a reset is a good thing. If I was on either the board of DC or Marvel, I would abandon the multiverse thing, though. You know, it was good for Spider-Man. You know, it allowed them to bring all the characters back, all the different actors that played it, kind of have a fun kind of reunion party. And
the problem isn't the fact with the multiverse. The problem is with some of the writers they have working on the multiverse.
Oh yeah,
that ties into their whole problem with saying that, you know, we don't want people that are fans of the property in the writer's room. See, that's where they screwed up. It wasn't the fact they're doing the multiverse. It's the fact that the writers that they've got on it aren't fans of the properties.
Yeah, I think that it's not
it's not the concept of the multiverse. It's the problem. It's the execution.
Yeah. Well, I think
so. I don't think they should. I don't think they should get rid of the multiverse. I think they should get rid of the writers' room and bring people in that actually know what happened in the comics and are fans of the characters.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's where the problem is.
Yeah. I think the thing is, it always comes down to respecting the core values of the stories and the characters, because obviously it's impossible. If you look at the comics, it's impossible to translate those loyally into a movie universe. You have to do it in a way that respects the characters, respects the stories, but at the same time also acknowledges that movies are a completely different storytelling format to comic books, and you also have to make it accessible for general audiences. So it's a massive undertaking. It's a massive task that requires major talent, which the writers' rooms at the moment don't seem to have. Or maybe it's not even that. It's just that they're ideologically driven, and they don't really see any point in putting in the effort, which is, again, a big problem. I don't understand the disconnect between that and the corporate level, who sees that they're losing massive amounts of money, and why that's happening. I mean, we could go over. I mean, we see it happening. It's baffling.
I can point out the exact point of the disconnect. Victoria Alonso.
Well, that's a name.
You take out Victoria Alonso. Get rid of her and her influence. Get rid of what's his face that's in the writer's room that says, you know, we don't want people in the writer's room, who's an acolyte of Victoria Alonso. You get rid of everybody in the Victoria Alonso tree, you're fine.
I wonder if they are, though, because I mean, I agree with you, but I feel like this is a Hydra head, no pun intended. You know, you cut one off, two more are going to sprout back up.
Yeah, you still got Feige, who is going to put in charge someone like Alonso. Again.
No. Alonso is above Feige, and Alonso has been stepping on a lot of what Feige wanted to do. I don't. The thing is, it's not the fact that Feige may do this or do that. The problem is Feige has too much on his plate. They put him in charge of the entire Marvel universe, not just the films, but the TV, the comics, everything. What they need to do is split that back up and have somebody under him running the comics, somebody under him running TV, and let him just handle film, because that's where he's best.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of problems here, and also throw on top of that, I think audiences maybe they wouldn't be fatigued if it wasn't for everything that's gone on, but I think a lot of them are going to be shy to come back at least as fully as they did in the past, especially with, you know, I mean, it's weird for me to say, and I didn't expect it to happen, but you know, as people have been saying, never bet against James Cameron. But you know, Avatar came in and showed that people are at least wanting something a little different. It's not too much different. Bill Barclay, welcome. Hi, I'm not staying long. I'm finally working my way through Warrior Nun season 2. By the way, I watched Operation Fortune. Meh. It was okay. Also watched Writer's Odyssey. That wasn't bad. A Writer's Odyssey. That sounds like something interesting. I haven't heard of that. Alonso gets away with stuff because Feige is too busy. Too busy or putting his attention in the wrong places. I mean, it is his job to stay on top of all of this stuff. But again, the ideology, that is going to continue to be a problem until we figure out as fans to not engage it. But again, I just feel like, yeah, you know, when you say they're waiting to do Agatha for the sake of, where was it? Daredevil Born Again. Now that is something that I think people are going to want to see. And I do hope that they're at least able to somewhat match what was accomplished on Netflix. I mean, people were excited about Daredevil on Netflix, and they were normies. They were people that, you know, what were they talking about? The fight choreography. I mean, the most, it kind of became a meme, like, you know, hallway fights. I've wondered if I could pull off Hallway Fight the movie as an indie film. But they were really talking about that. The Ancient One explained the multiverse perfectly in Endgame, and they went and broke it in Loki. 1 minute Loki saw the time cops were using Infinity Stones as paperweights. That might as well. Must have cut off. The Ancient One explained the multiverse. He hides behind the LGBT because he has no personality. A boring ass.
Okay, Jeebus, she's not in charge of him as far as on their job descriptions. She's in charge of him over the power she wields. She has more power than Kevin Feige does. And that's the problem.
Yeah, they all have too much power at the moment. And this is another thing, you know, Hollywood was built, especially the Hollywood that we grew up with, was built by auteurs. They were given not 100% free reign. They were given obviously restrictions based on budget and time and what the producers thought that they would could sell in the box office. Good morning, Penny. Let's see. We got everyone in the chat. So, you know, but for the most part, they understood that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and, you know, even Francis Ford Coppola was building up their franchises. I mean, think of even Francis Ford Coppola with Dracula. Everything that came after Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula movie was in some way inspired by that, whether it be something really corny like Van Helsing or something like, what was it? Not Dracula 2000, sorry. Even though Dracula 2000 was kind of also a spin-off of that in a way. But it was the Dracula origin story where he was Vlad the Impaler. Oh, I've got it, of course, for the ladies in the chat. Lift my weights. But these people built Hollywood. They built what became the franchises that they continue to capitalize on these days. And we talked about that last week, even with Robert Downey Jr. and blocking on his name. It'll come to me. The director that did the first 2 Iron Mans and plays Happy. The Infinity Stones used as paperweights is a reference to Avengers JLA, where Darkseid saw the Infinity Gauntlet was useless, not in the universe it came from. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Dracula Untold, yeah. Welcome, Farnsworth. But yeah, I mean,
that Hollywood is dead.
Yeah, absolutely, it is.
And that Hollywood won't be coming back. There's nothing we can do to fix that. We just have to work with what's there.
By the way, I see Nick Cage is playing Dracula. Yeah. Did you guys see that trailer? By the way,
I thought he was playing Renfield.
No, he's Dracula.
He's Dracula.
Renfield.
I always thought he was going to be Redfield, and I think
No,
he would
it's,
have worked better as Renfield because all of his wackiness and his emoting.
It's a wacky trailer. Yeah, someone else playing. I don't know the actor playing Renfield. I didn't recognize him, but Nick Cage makes an appearance as Dracula, and it looks fine. It looks silly. It looks like something that I'd watch if it came on TV, but I'm not going to run out to the theaters for it. And it's an old plot. You know, it's the person who has some wacky circumstances using a support group to talk about in code his problems. In this case, his problem is that he serves Dracula and he's tired of it. And so he goes to a support group for people with toxic bosses. But there was another movie where it was what was it? It was a hitman who went to AA to talk about the stresses of being a hitman. So it's kind of an old Beast from X-Men movies is playing Renfield. That's all right. Yeah, that's who it is.
Well, the Dracula property I'm most interested in is The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Oh, is that? I haven't heard of that. Is it like an updated thing, or is it actually going to be on a ship? Like
it's going to be on a ship. It's the whole. It's actually based on just the log section of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Nice. Well, I've read that book many times. I'm a big vampire fan. It's one of those things like werewolves. It's very hard to get them right. It's fun to do them as a goof. You can do that, but we talked. Was it last week? We talked a bit about Interview with the Vampire. I think it was with Keith on the Friday show. You want to see vampires. I like it when they're taken seriously, but I think we've seen a lot of the same things repeated over and over again. You either have the Anne Rice style, or you have kind of the 30 Days of Night style, or your traditional Dracula, or your comedic version. But at the same time, it's difficult to do too different a spin on them, because then you get so far away from what they are. Like, I don't know, what is it Guillermo del Toro did? Not Virus, something like that though, where they had the vampire tongues that shot out and sucked your blood out through that.
The Strain.
Yeah.
The Strain, that was it. It was off to an interesting start, but it just kind of became like another zombie plague thing. Doesn't Wednesday have a Dracula in it? I don't know. I didn't watch all of Wednesday. My kids watch it over and over again, so I catch it bits and pieces and kind of put it together in my mind. So if there was, I'm sure there are vampires in that one.
I think they are referenced, but you don't see them in action.
Oh, okay. Maybe next season. So anyway, but I want to move on to this other article that Keith sent us. Buffy Vampires or Demons. Yeah.
Before we jump.
Sure.
I just wanted to say that I'm working on a show called Dustwolfen's Creature Feature.
Ooh.
And the very first episode is going to be Dracula.
Nice.
Well, specifically vampires, where I go into the literary and film, as well as the mythological and historical information, and then the cryptid information about that. And I'm currently writing it right now, so
that's going to be fantastic. I'm again big fan of vampires. I actually have a vampire screenplay that I have completed and is kind of in the pile of things that I'm going to get to after Escape from Planet Omega 12, because I absolutely love them. And Joe's Atmosphere says, one of the best adaptations is the Underworld franchise. Love me some Kate Beckinsale. Woman makes me hungry in that pleather. Yeah, is it vampires that you're excited about, or Kate Beckinsale? My wife follows her on Instagram, by the way. She's hilarious. She's got fuzzy cats, which she's always dressing up. But it
The
is really
first-
funny.
Well, the first episodes I'm going to do all the Universal monsters first.
Nice. Are you a Monster Squad fan?
Oh, I liked it.
I haven't seen it in years, but
No, I haven't either.
Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr. both worked for Stan Winston Studios, and were in that movie. Tom actually put on the Gillman suit, but they loved that movie because they worked on it, and it was fun. They got to do the Universal Monsters thing, and I got to work with them. So one day, Alec has said that he was going to come on the show when we do the Aliens Expanded one. So we may have to have him back several times. But let's go on to the second one that Keith sent. I'm going to read this because I haven't read it yet. But Keith seemed to believe this was important. And by the headline, I think so. So it says, report, comic shops persuaded to overbuy unpopular woke comics. So it says, Mind Matters discussed the sharp decline in the entertainment industry value, and that includes comic books, of course. What's brought up here is very disturbing. Some ask whether new woke politics and themes in entertainment are driving the decline. It's a complex question. Wokeness probably is driving a decline in comic book sales, though such facts are rarely admitted. For example, suddenly morphing an iconic type of character into an unfamiliar identity is like replacing the Thanksgiving pumpkin pie with goat's milk yogurt. Whatever diners might otherwise think of the yogurt, they were looking forward to their traditional pumpkin pie. And in the case of comic books, some say there has been pressure on shop owners from publishers to accept woke wear, even though the shop owners knew that the fans were not interested. If a comic book store does not order enough comics of a certain comic book that is more diverse or has LGBTQ characters, then the owner is called names and gets insults. However, despite of the fact that an LGBTQ comic book does not sell much, the store owner is still pressured into buying those. The comic stores are the ones that suffer because of the politics. You have feminist comic books that don't sell even 10,000 copies, so the store owner is pressured into ordering more. Andy Matrix has the comic books industry collapsed? Here's the proof. At the Art TV, let's see, hardly a winning formula. I'm not quite sure that was... it looks like it was kind of inserted in. I'm not sure the context of that. Well, if anybody's acting vulgar and rude towards a store proprietor because he or she won't stock heavily on LGBTQ themed comics, an example that just confirms that what's gone wrong with the world, lack of polite dissent, and the influence of profanity in modern society, which is noxious. Assuming this has anything to do with the big two, that's exactly why shop owners have to stop relying so heavily upon their products, period. Cult worship, as we know it, has become a very dire issue nowadays, and is particularly the reason why some people may not want anything to do with pop culture. That's why the issue needs to be addressed seriously about all the wokeness that's led to rudeness or extension, and why it's bad for business. Unfortunately, very few sensible people in the mainstream are willing to do that. So I think the big issue here is, I mean, first of all, I've known this for a long time in terms of comic retailers. Joe's Atmosphere says, when I was working on a comic shop sign, my old friend and I discussed this at length. So comic book retailers have always been at the front lines. And one of the disadvantages of being a comic book retailer is that the people doing the publishing have never had to suffer the full brunt of the consequences of their decisions. The retailers do. So even in the 90s, I remember working in comic book stores and seeing this happen, where a comic publisher would make a decision to do a new book. The one that stands out most in my mind is Chris Claremont's Sovereign 7. And they would say to the retailers, buy this in quantity. It's going to be hot. But there was no comic return policy. If the comic books didn't sell, then the retailer was stuck with them. Now, the comic book publisher already got their money. The people writing the comic and drawing the comic already got their money. So everyone got their money, and the person left holding the ball was the retailer. So,
well, it's the same stuff that Diamond used to do. Exact same thing. Where if you want this book that's going to be popular, you have to take these other titles too.
Yeah, and since Diamond at the time, for the longest time, was the only distributor of comic books, you had to do what they asked you to. So again, they didn't suffer for it, except in that, when times were tough, they were tough for everybody. But the retailer is always the one at the end of the supply chain who gets stuck holding the ball, and they don't really get much say in it. Especially these days, there's nothing for the customer to request for them to order. We look at these comic books, and it's not even the themes. Neil Gaiman and the Sandman would have gay characters. And, we had North Star, and I think I'm forgetting somebody else. A gay character in a comic was not unheard of. A character of a different race was not unheard of. And when it did occur, it wasn't something that anybody cared about or thought of, as long as the story was good. But now we have stories that are just, all the female characters sitting around at the ice cream shop or the wherever, eating food, drinking milkshakes, talking, being insufferable. We have stories where the Joker is giving birth to mud babies. I'm trying not to swear for the new YouTube algorithm, but the male character that captures the female heroes, and they start accusing him of being into pee fetish. Just things that, when I was a kid, that was not what I rode my bike to the local drugstore to get off the rack. I was interested in Wolverine fighting, the villain of the week, or the Incredible Hulk on, running from the military or whatever else. It was adventure. It was stuff that kids were into. Kids are not going to pull this off of the comic rack and go like, oh, the Joker's giving birth. How cool. No, they don't care. They've got their video games. They've got their Roblox. The industry is completely dead. The retailers are going to have to evolve into something else. And I don't really think that there's anything for them to evolve into. But the fact of the matter, again, is, you didn't hear about this, Joe?
Yep.
I don't even know how to explain it, because it defies.
Clayface got Joker pregnant somehow. This is not.
Satana did it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Zatanna used her magic and mucked it. I don't know. It's just it's not.
Look at Chris.
It's not canon.
But why?
But yeah, exactly. Why?
Well, again, these are not the characters that anyone grew up with or know. Shinosky is here. Welcome. And Decepticon's Cave of Comics and Toys. And Sean Estep. I think I said that before, but just in case I didn't. Somebody made a point not too long ago, and I can't remember who it was, but it was an excellent point. It was regarding She-Hulk. And it was essentially came down to this. I guess, was it Dan Slott who wrote She-Hulk, who came out and said, oh, it's exactly like, breaking the fourth wall, doing funny stuff as an attorney. Yeah, that's exactly what She-Hulk was.
I want to know what issue had the drunken whore of She-Hulk in it.
Well, that's exactly it. He misses the point entirely, or he sidesteps it, because deep down he knows what people are talking about. What people are talking about is, we used to buy comics and read them because we wanted to read about heroic people. And we wanted our kids we wanted to pass these stories down to our children, because we want to show our children examples of what it means to make good choices, to be brave, to be heroic, to put your others before yourself, to also understand that we have duties to the society that we live in. We're all, as people, part of the society. We're part of the structure. We're part of the economics. And if we don't adhere to these values and do what we can to support them, that everything falls apart. And that's exactly what's happening now, because none of these characters, including She-Hulk, embody that at all. And so we're stuck with these vapid, self-absorbed characters that aren't anything but garbage, and it's just making everything collapse around us. So what do we do to combat that, to fix that? And we'll talk about that in the next hour.
Yeah. Okay. Let me do this one.
Hello. Good evening, and welcome to the middle of the film.
And we're back. We are back on KGRA. Not quite yet. But we're going to be doing that. So anyway, that's enough of that. I mean, these are we want good characters, not just for the sake of entertainment or the sake of adhering to the canon that we grew up with. Of course, things are going to change. Of course, things are going to modify for technological advances and the new evolving landscape of media. But I think it's important to have those inherent values in characters that show people, especially young people, how to behave. And if it's for the sake of comedy, we have characters that behave poorly, but we show that those characters are a joke. That behavior is the wrong behavior, and that's why we laugh at it. Which brings me to what we promised everyone today, which is Evil Dead and the character of Ash, who started out kind of as a serious character and evolved into a great example of how not to behave. But we love him because he's so inappropriate. And at the same time, he still manages to be a hero despite it all, which is kind of what I love about Ash. So Evil Dead, I have described this as the only franchise that has yet to let me down. I've loved every single installment, whether it's the movies or the series of Evil Dead. I think that they're fantastic. I can put on any of them and enjoy them. Bruce Campbell is the man. Do you have a favorite Evil Dead? Is there a particular one that is your spot
Army of
on?
Darkness.
Army of Darkness.
I love
Martin?
Army of Darkness, yeah.
Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Ash versus the Evil Dead. And I grew up with when I was a teenager, especially, my friends and I were all about Evil Dead 2, which is essentially a remake of the first Evil Dead. But the first Evil Dead is also a huge influence on me and the Quantum Terror. Bill Barclay says, I'd love to see a Necronomicon and Darkhold book off. The Darkhold is the Doctor Strange one, right? Is that the Dark? Yeah. So Army of Darkness. Yeah, Army of Darkness is awesome. Infinitely quotable. Now, I mean, let's talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for a moment. I feel like Sam Raimi was originally going to try and make it be a little more of an homage to his own work in Evil Dead. I mean, the Darkhold is definitely the Necronomicon. He had Doctor Strange be a zombie version of himself. He's got his Sam Raimi isms that he really tried to push in there, but obviously he didn't have very much control over that movie because, I mean, when Mahler can do 3+ hours of criticism over that movie and it's more entertaining than the movie itself, you've got a problem. But yeah, I mean, the idea that this guy made a career off of just doing a very low budget cabin in the woods movie, literally in a real cabin in the woods with no running water. And I think it got funded by a dentist, that old story that they actually got some money from a dentist or a doctor or something like that. I'm assuming you guys have all seen the original Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And what you think? I mean, do you like it, or is it too low budget for you guys?
Oh no, it was fine.
Well, I like it. Yeah, sometimes can look a little, just a little low budgety, but it's nothing that I cannot overlook. And it works well enough that my girls are repelled by it. They of the four, three of them said no, that is disgusting. No.
Well, it's interesting to me, you know, again, it's literally they found a cabin in the woods. I think someone they knew owned it. It didn't have any running water. And they put their cast through hell. But it was done on a really low budget. And the basement scene, so there's a hole in the floor, a little opening that you open up, and there are demons down there. When they go down into the basement, it's literally a garage, which was what inspired me to believe that I could actually build sets in my own garage and make the Quantum Terror. Everything in that movie takes place in my garage. I just used a lot of tricks to make you think you were in a network of underground tunnels, just like they did to make you think you were in a dirty basement that there was a demon inside. And it's funny seeing that being recreated in Ash versus the Evil Dead on a much higher budget. And Ash versus the Evil Dead manages to take every trope you can possibly take, throw it together, turn it into something ridiculous and entertaining and fun. And I think Bruce Campbell, of course, is the glue that holds that all together, which he really tried to play it straight in the first Evil Dead. And there's a lot of cheesy stuff, you know, the little necklace, which I think Bruce Campbell was like, this is your big prop? This is what's going to defeat the Deadites? Is this ugly magnifying glass necklace? So there's a lot about it that does look cheap and definitely dated, the stop motion animation and stuff, but I just love it all. And it's kind of, you know, what's turned into what people see as that grindhouse aesthetic that Robert Rodriguez tried to use in his Planet Terror and Quentin Tarantino in Death Proof. But it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of this seed that germinated into everything else that Sam Raimi has done. I mean, if you watch it, everything that Sam Raimi still does today in one form or another, whether it be special effects, photography tricks, or slapstick, or Bruce Campbell, which he still puts in everything, you know, it's all there. Joe's Atmosphere says the Sam Raimi stuff in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is badass. Just let the guy do his flick. They didn't learn the Spider-Man 3 lesson. Keep your filthy paws off his film, MCU, idiots. Yeah, I agree. So, of course, Sam Raimi got more money to do Evil Dead 2. And instead of making it a sequel to Evil Dead 1, he just made it a reboot. He made it funnier. He made the gags more insane, more stop motion, more miniature sets, more killer trees, more headless women with chainsaws, and more Bruce Campbell being crazy. And I think I think it's like part of their friendship. Sam Raimi enjoys torturing Bruce Campbell because he certainly makes him do a lot of crazy stuff, including flips and hitting himself over the head with plates and cutting off his own hand with a chainsaw. And Lucy Lawless appeared in Ash vs. Evil Dead since Bruce appeared in Xena, Bill Barclay says. I didn't know Bruce appeared in Xena, but I never watched Xena. Lucy Lawless was certainly fun. I liked her character in that. But we're jumping ahead. Evil Dead 2, thoughts?
Yeah,
Evil Dead. I think it. While it was basically a remake of the first Evil Dead, I think it did help tighten up Ash's character quite a bit.
Yeah. And it allowed him to become more of a character in terms of the situations that Sam Raimi put him in.
Joe.
Oh, is Joe going?
He's gotta go.
Oh, he's got to go, Joe. All right. Thanks for being here, Joe, my honorary oos. And CJ with Action Grip is also here with us. Welcome to the show. One of the things I enjoyed most about Evil Dead 2 was just, again, the physicality of Bruce Campbell and combined with all of these fun practical effects tricks that we still see used today. My favorite is the mirror gag where he's talking to himself in the mirror. He's reassuring himself, it's fine. I'm going to be okay. And then suddenly his reflection jumps out of the mirror and grabs him and looks at him and goes, we just killed our girlfriend and chopped her up and buried her. Does that sound okay to you? And it's such a great trick, which they've used in other movies, not so much in the sense of having the characters do something different in the mirror, but they set up a reverse room with a hole and they put a separate mirror frame behind the first one, so it looked like the frame was being reflected as well. And it was actually a stand-in who's the back of their head, as we're seeing, is looking in the mirror, and Bruce Campbell is there. And they use that trick again in Terminator 2, where they're operating on Arnold Schwarzenegger's head in the deleted scene.
Yep.
So they've got a dummy with a like a little turn screw thing that goes deep inside the head, which is impossible to do with an actor, obviously. And they had Linda Hamilton's twin sister operating. I can't remember if she's operating on the head or if she's on the other side of with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually in front of the camera, doubling the dummy. Twin sisters on either side, one with Arnold, one with the dummy, opening up the head so the camera can see inside, all in one shot. And again, they just doubled up that mirror frame so you couldn't tell that you weren't looking into a mirror. So the audience is just tricked to think they're looking into a mirror. And then they did it with Mission Impossible when they had Simon Pegg sit down and put on a mask, and he's pulling it on to look like the other actor. And on the other side of the fake mirror is the actual actor. So they just have him pull it on, sit down. The camera pans over to what's supposed to be the mirror, and there's the actual actor pretending to tug at his skin like he's adjusting the mask. And it's done without a mirror. It just tricks the audience. And there's brilliant stuff like that throughout the entirety of Evil Dead 2. And I think that there's a lot of filmmakers that looked at that, saw what Sam Raimi was doing, and figured out different ways to utilize it. There's also one of the big movies that really launched K&B effects, like people like Greg Nicotero, and I'm forgetting the other ones. Walking Dead people, Shannon Shea, who went on to do Terminator 2. So maybe they got that idea actually through Shannon Shea. I don't know. James Cameron usually thinks up a lot of that stuff, but I'm sure he was looking at Sam Raimi. But we owe Sam Raimi a lot. And, and Sam Raimi owes the Three Stooges a lot, both him and Bruce Campbell. So a lot of that slapstick humor, a lot of that silliness that Bruce Campbell puts himself through is Three Stooges stuff. And there's actually things like the blood in the light bulb come from Three Stooges, where I guess they were fixing a pipe and somehow they screwed it up so bad that there was water coming through the light bulb. And then they ended on a cliffhanger, which takes us to Army of Darkness. So since Army of Darkness is your favorite, John, I'm going to let you explain that one.
Well, basically they get sucked into the past. Car and all.
Well, it's just Ash. Ash in his car get sucked.
Yeah, Ash in his car, yeah. And they're, I think it's, the Dark Ages. And they're forced to fight a Deadite army that Ash kind of brought with him. He goes and he has to go get the Necronomicon, and he messes up the words. And it releases the Deadites. And so they end up fighting there's this whole big thing. And his girlfriend in there gets taken over again Um, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, that's the short version.
Yeah. Well, so the girl at the end who has the Necronomicon, who can translate it, gets killed at the last minute. She gets stabbed by his severed hand with the Kandarian dagger. And Zax is here. Welcome, Zax. Sucked through time. Now, at the end of Evil Dead 2, he blasts a deadite and saves these medieval knights, and it ends with them going, "Hail to the," I forget the warrior, not "Hail to the chief." And he's just like screaming. He's like gone insane because he thought it was all going to be over, and now he's found himself in a worse predicament. At the opening of Army of Darkness, they kind of changed that, like a cliffhanger in a serial, where he's actually thought to be a demon himself, and he's only saved by the wizard or the wise man of the medieval culture, and he's taken to a miniature. Great miniature work in that, by the way.
Yep.
And he becomes even more of a parody of himself at that point. Now he's arrogant. He's insulting everyone. He's, really smarmy. And it's like with each movie, he evolves and gets sillier and sillier. But he also gets more heroic. And this is where he kind of takes on that Magnificent Seven aspect of himself, where he opens up the trunk of the car and you see he's got a copy of, was it Fangoria and a copy of Dark Horse Presents?
Yeah.
Which is, I have that issue. It's the first issue of Sin City is in that too. And he's got a book of, it's kind of like an encyclopedia style, like fixer-upper book where it shows you how to weld things and make mechanisms. And he trains the entire medieval kingdom in Magnificent Seven style, how to fight the Deadites using modern technology.
And he's got like the chemistry book, and he shows the alchemist new stuff. So he's got all these textbooks and stuff in the back of his car.
And it's funny because he ultimately changes the course of history, and he becomes what he's prophesized to be in the book, but not because he's this like great mind. It's just he happens to be like, okay, like a dad. He's like, oh, let's look up how to fix this, how to, and he makes ridiculous stuff like his severed hand he turns into like a robot hand, which is more advanced than robot hands we have now. Slasher Fred says the Evil Dead feels like a teen horror movie, but with college students. I mean, that's exactly what it is. The original Evil Dead is exactly that. And it's fun to see.
Oh, wrong one. Sorry.
Hail to the king, baby.
But he keeps, as definitely. Now, one of the things that's very interesting to me is Sam Raimi made a Wizard of Oz movie called Oz the Great and Powerful with, here I go blocking names again, but it was really
James Franco.
James Franco. It was really good. I enjoyed it a lot. I took my daughter to see it, but after watching it, I realized it's just Army of Darkness again, except it's in the land of Oz. And instead of having Ash, you have Oz the Great and Powerful. But same thing. He's got, I think he even had some books or something like that. But he used all of his little kind of stage tricks to train the people of Oz. And even the witch at the end is kind of like a deadite. She does the jump scare in front of the camera and then flies away. But it's a lot of fun. And of course, he's a screw up. Again, one of the things I love about that movie is all the slapstick and the fact that they used a lot of reverse photography and miniatures and big sets to make Bruce Campbell look miniature, because he's the miniature versions of himself that are torturing him. He had to do a lot of backwards acting. I think Sam Raimi called, or maybe it was one of the people, maybe it was Greg Nicotero that said Bruce Campbell is the king of acting in reverse, because they would have to do things where, the miniature version of himself that's a little demon, Ash throws a fork at it and it sticks him against a wall. Well, the way they did that was they had him with this giant fork on his torso, and then they pulled it away and they just reversed the footage, so it looked like he was being pinned against the wall by a fork. Just all sorts of fun practical effects stuff that I love. And then for a long time, we didn't get anything. It did end on another cliffhanger, sort of. He finds his way back to the present, and we find him at his job at S Smart.
Shop S Smart.
Yep. Remember, even screw ups are full of potential. Says Farnsworth. Welcome, Farnsworth. Again, Bruce Campbell. With his character Ash in Evil Dead, it's kind of the same message that comes with Ghostbusters. If you do your job, if you do what is necessary, what you're called upon to do, everybody gets a chance to be a hero in their own way. And, it's like, in the sense of movies, it's always something outrageous, like ghost busting or fighting deadites or something like that. But it's kind of that blue collar mentality that also makes people like plumbers and electricians heroes. If it's Thanksgiving and or there's a major storm and your pipes are clogged, the plumber that shows up is your hero. They're the ones that know how to fix the problem, and they come with a certain set of skills. And I think that's kind of what's missing from society today is Hollywood, as it stands now, is misunderstood everything. They think that a hero is just someone who's cool and knows everything and has clever, witty lines to say. After a while, that gets tiresome. A hero is somebody who is willing to show up and do their job. And that's what Bruce Campbell as Ash is. When he shows up, he's pissed off. He's grumpy. He doesn't want to do it. But he's also realizes he's the only person that's going to take care of it. And I think that that's a message that is missing from just a lot of, and I hate to say that in terms of messages in movies, but
yeah,
we'll call that a value. Just a value that heroes in general are lacking. That's what makes us love them. They're not the likely hero, but they're just the person that we need. And so, yeah. And when we get, let's see. Now, you're not a fan of the Evil Dead reboot. So I'll just, and Martin, you said you haven't seen that one yet?
No, I saw it.
Oh, you did?
What I said is not as at the same level that the others, but it's a good movie.
I liked it. It's a completely different movie in the sense of it
absolutely
does
serious.
Yeah. What if we took these ideas seriously? What would the Deadites be like if they weren't ridiculous slapstick demons? What would the implications be if it was a deadly serious situation? And they are scary. Now it's Evil Dead for a new generation. My daughter absolutely loves it. I loved it for how it took gore and brutality and actually worked it into the story in a way that didn't feel gratuitous, even though it was extremely gratuitous. But it felt like part of the story. And the idea that these things are so evil and so uncaring. It's not like the Terminator where it can't be reasoned with just because it's a non-thinking machine. These things are profoundly evil and malicious. And if they possess you, they'll make you do things like cut off your own face, find the most painful and drawn out way of killing you, of taunting you, of taking all the things that you hold dear and torturing you with them. In a way, it is an extension of the William Peter Blatty exorcist demon Pazuzu. It can be hard to watch, and they fortunately the maliciousness of some of what they do, like the Deadite kills a dog, and you actually see that that's off camera, so thank you for doing that. But it is crazy what these characters have to go through, being raining blood, being buried alive, having limbs torn off or blown off, syringes stabbed into the face. Just if you're a fan of brutal horror, this is for you. If you can't stomach those things, then yeah, definitely avoid this movie. But I also like that this movie gave a reason to go to the cabin besides, oh, we're just a bunch of college people looking for a place to party and not be bothered. They're there because one of their friends is a heroin addict, and she's trying to kick, and so they've all gone there so she can have a place to be clean and scream her head off when she's having withdrawals.
It's the protagonist, right? The one.
What's that? Yeah, she's the protagonist. Although you think it's going to be the brother at first. I guess we're going to talk mild spoilers here. But it goes through all the motions of Evil Dead, the basement, the Deadites, the Kundarian Book of the Dead. The person who finds the book, I mean, it's literally wrapped in a plastic bag and then barbed wire. He clips the barbed wire, opens it up, pulls it out of the bag. Literally written on every page is "Don't read from this." And what does he do? He goes and reads from it. But the big thing is that the first person to realize that there's something wrong is the girl going through withdrawals, is the heroin addict. And she's trying to escape, and they keep going after her and pulling her back because they think that she's going crazy because of heroin withdrawals, and she's trying to make more and more outlandish excuses to get out of there so she can go do heroin. So ultimately, I thought that was a really strong plot point and a very strong piece of character development of this girl, again, being the unlikely hero. She's the heroin addict. She's the one that doesn't have it together. And it's because of that she is ultimately the only one who can survive it, because she's been through so much. And even she gets possessed by a deadite. It's because of her brother not giving up on her, which is what he tells her at the beginning. I'm not going to give up on you. But there's all sorts of, trauma around it. She disappeared and became a drug addict and left him with their senile dying mother. There's a lot of tragedy in there. And it's not pretty what they go through, but it is genuinely scary. The Deadites are genuinely scary. The threat is definitely, you feel the sense of danger. You feel the urge to get out of there. Throw the book in a volcano. Yeah, one was not available in this particular movie. But it was a different spin on the movie. And because of that, you're able to separate yourself from canon of what Bruce Campbell's character Ash is in. And they say it technically could be in the same universe. I don't know. Maybe it's a multiverse thing like we were talking about before. It definitely doesn't feel like the same universe. It feels like a different take on it. But it doesn't step on what came before. And it is produced by Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. So they definitely had a very a strong sense of what it is. It's not like somebody else who's taking it over and going, oh, we're going to do it better. They just decided to take a different approach to it. And then after that, they went and did Ash versus the Evil Dead, which is an amazing Netflix television series. They got 2 seasons. I think it was.
No, wasn't Netflix. It was Stars.
Oh, it's Netflix here. Oh, no, you're right. You're right. It was Stars. It went to Netflix afterwards. I saw it on Netflix after the fact because I didn't have Stars. 2 seasons, Bruce Campbell, Lucy Lawless, and
aren't there 3 seasons? I think.
There could have been. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Ash travels the multiverse to kill Deadites. Well, that's kind of what Ash versus the Evil Dead is, because there is time travel in it again. Which, it makes sense because he traveled back in time for Army of Darkness. It kind of blends to get his origin story. Sometimes when he talks about his origin story, it's the first movie, and other times it's the second movie. It's as if the 2 movies have kind of meshed together in one Evil Dead movie. I think there was an Evil Dead video game too. Yes, there was. I don't play video games, so I didn't play it, but Bruce Campbell did come and do the voices for that. Obviously, he's made his entire career on this character. He's done other stuff. He did, a cowboy series. I forget what it's called. Saw a few episodes of it.
Adventures of Briscoe County Jr.
That's it, which was fun. It was a fun series. And, of course, he did Bubba Hotep, where he played Elvis in a retirement home fighting a mummy. But for the most part, Ash has been what has made him famous. And he's done different things, hosted some shows and that sort of thing. But coming back as Ash, and he said he enjoyed doing it because it was, a TV show schedule. So, it was like showing up for a day job, which is nice. But yeah, apparently he's hanging out with some chick and he wants to impress her. She wants to hear some French poetry while they're getting high in his trailer. And somehow he decides that reading from the Kandarian Book of the Dead while high is a good idea. And he once again unleashes the Deadites. He seems to be very good at causing the problems that he has to fix. He's also on Burn Notice. I never saw Burn Notice, but I heard that was a good show. So yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. And so the Deadites are loose again. And this time he has been, he's now known as El Jefe. And one of the kids he works with at the S-Smart just happens to know about the Deadites, as if he would. I always got the impression that he was sent to watch over him, although I don't think they ever fleshed that out. And he just he kind of gets a team together of kids, and they go traveling around fighting Deadites, and a bunch of stupid stuff happens, and it's a lot of fun. And he fights Deadites in a mortuary, and his head gets pulled into the rear end of a corpse. And there's some stuff I'm like, we may get in trouble with YouTube if I even say how inappropriate this show gets.
that was a recurring joke on each season. There has an ultra gross episode.
Yeah. That was my favorite. There's the other one, there was the sperm bank one, which was really hard to watch, but also hilarious. And, but it's just crazy stuff happening. It was Lee Majors plays his father, who is also great. And so you get to meet his father. You get to find out he has a daughter. You get to find out what the town thinks of him. They all think he's the psycho murderer that somehow managed to get away with chopping up a bunch of people in a cabin. Just all sorts of crazy stuff happens. And it culminates at the end of season 3. Kind of like, what's that? Did you say something?
No,
I didn't say anything.
Sorry. Must be the ghosts in the house. It culminates ends with season 3 on another cliffhanger where he's been in suspended animation. He wakes up, it's like post-apocalyptic future world, and there's a robot babe waiting for him, and he takes off and rides into the Mad Max style desert. And I guess they were going to do something with that for a 4th season, but in a way I feel like it was a good way to end. It's just so ridiculous and crazy. The Kandarian demon at the end of season 3 was like a kaiju, and again, he rose to the occasion and was just awesome. Puppets, he fought a puppet version of himself. He fought the little China doll from Oz the Great and Powerful. I just don't even know how to kind of quantify this because so much crazy stuff happened. Time travel. There was a witch trying to kill him, played by Lucy Lawless, or she was a demon witch. And then she became good. And then she got killed. And then a past version of herself was who killed her. So she's evil again. And it was just hilarious and fun. And I thought the whole cast did an excellent job. And, so it's definitely a classic. But what'd you guys think of that? Do you have any favorite moments?
Well,
Yeah.
I haven't
Murder is
finished the
evil.
series, so
Oh, should have warned
Oh
me so I
man,
didn't spoil anything. It's
you have to. It's so
been
we
out for a
cannot
long
talk.
time now.
yeah, I know. I got a lot of stuff that I've got to watch. So,
Well, for me, you guys know it's almost impossible to get me to watch anything. I really have to be compelled to, see a trailer or see something and go, yeah, I'm going to check that out. And even then, there are movies and I go, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that. I got really excited when Mel Gibson was doing The Last Temptation of Christ. Still haven't seen it. No Deadites in it. But this I went and watched and had a really good time with. And again, that mortuary scene is inappropriate in just about every possible way. So much enjoyable story in it. Yeah, Farnsworth, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the fun part is he's always a fun character. There's always something happening. The way the characters react off of him, the girl he's hitting on who's like half his age and turns out her parents got possessed by deadites and so she has to go with him even though she doesn't like him. And then, they end up becoming like family and she becomes a, badass deadite killer herself. But all this inappropriate non-PC stuff that happens, probably they couldn't get away with now. It's this really sad moment where her parents are possessed by deadites and they have to kill them and Bruce Campbell buries them for her and then puts the crosses on the grave like he did in Evil Dead 2, stabbing it in all dramatically. And she looks at him and goes, they were Jewish, right? Or again, the morgue scene, I just can't get past that. It also pays homage to Reanimator, where you have in Reanimator, the corpses were coming back to life and those crazy stuff was happening. Like their intestines were shooting at the characters and wrapping around them like tentacles and trying to pull them and kill them. Well, in Ash versus the Evil Dead, that happens, except it happens out of how do I say this?
Leave it to the imagination.
What's that?
Leave it to the imagination.
Yeah, but it's the end of a male corpse and his head is getting dragged into that end. And you know what else is there? And he sells it with the expressions and like, no. And then it gets pulled in and you see his face in the stomach. And it's, this is where Gary would come in handy because Gary, he comes up with the best ways of explaining stuff like this. Like the stories of the ER of Gary, where he says, I'm not going to tell you what happened next. And then he proceeds to explain exactly what happens next. With
sounds effects on everything.
Yeah. So, and now they're revisiting I guess we'll just, for the sake of convenience, call it the reboot universe with Evil Dead Rise, which, we'll get out of the way. Again, I thought the trailer looked amazing. I showed it to my daughter. She thought it looked great. The thing about it that's going to make it hard for me to watch, even though it looks fantastic, is it's the first time we've really had kids have to confront the deadites. And it's made obvious at the beginning, in the opening of the trailer, that there's a cute little girl, very innocent, and her mother is possessed with a deadite. And it just kind of gave me chills and made me very concerned of what I'm going to see here. When the little girl goes, mommy, and the deadite possessing her mom says, mommy's with the maggots now. I'm like, ugh, that's brutal, even by my standards. But Martin, you didn't seem too impressed with the trailer. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, the gore looks nice. The effects look nice. But it's too ideologically driven for my taste.
It's funny because there must be two trailers. I saw the red band and I didn't see any anything that came off to me as ideological. But you said that there was they said some things in it that seemed like that had that kind of cringe in it.
Well, not that they say, they show. But I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, it's
Bruce Campbell is Evil Dead, so you have to do a excellent job to make me watch an Evil Dead without Bruce.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Yeah, I agree. You know, this is, I mean, I think this is something that's very difficult to pull off. And I am a bit concerned because, like I said, for me, the track record is 100%. And yeah, go watch the trailer. What I did enjoy the trailer was freaky, but you know, you think to yourself, okay, if the track record's 100% and they're doing yet another one. And it's, you know, the last director really impressed me. He's not directing this one. He's directing what's the new Aliens movie or Alien movie, which is tentatively called Alien Romulus. And it's kind of what you're talking about. You start to realize, you know, same with Star Wars. Star Wars is the story of the Skywalkers. You can have spin-off material, but even
it's the Star Wars is the story of the Palpatines now.
But I mean, the Clone Wars worked because it was Anakin Skywalker, and you'd have stories that kind of surrounded him that he wasn't always a part of, but still it would come back to it's Anakin Skywalker. Yeah, the Palpatines. That the sequels showed that you need the Skywalkers, and they weren't there, and what they did with them was a crime. And Alien, you know, H.R. Giger, who designed the Alien, he said something that I really disagree with. Yeah, I hear they're going to start shooting Romulus soon. Yeah, I think it's supposed to shoot next month. But H.R. Giger said Alien is about the monster. And yeah, it does sound like Star Trek. It's not about the monster. It's Ripley's story. And it was Ripley's story in the first movie, and it was solidified even more as Ripley's story in the second movie. It became less about Ripley in the third and more about, again, ideology, which was David Fincher is very nihilistic. And so it became more about that nihilistic ideology. And Alien Resurrection essentially was, you know, Deep Rising. I know this because I saw Deep Rising a couple of months after Alien Resurrection, and I went, this is the same movie. It's the exact same movie. But you know, yeah, you need a character to kind of center everything around, because your movie can't just be about what the creature is. Unless the creature is someone, again, like a vampire, like Dracula, where you can tell the story of that creature. Dracula has his own story. Well, in the original book, it's actually the story of Jonathan and Mina Harker getting together with Van Helsing and Quincy Morris and was it Dr. Stewart? I can't remember. Oh well. You know, it's always about the characters, about the people. The monster is kind of, you know, the thing that they have to confront to grow as characters. CJ with Action Grip says, what third movie? La, 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 la. Alien 3 doesn't exist. La, la, la. Not listening. Yeah, I agree. There's only 2 movies. We've discussed this before, and we will continue to discuss this. We are going to have a revisit episode. They should send full Android crews into hazardous environments. Yeah, that's coming. Yeah, so I should point this out in a later episode. I am Dr. Seward. Is it Seward? I thought it was Stewart. Anyway, yeah, you. I think you might be right. So yeah, we have an upcoming episode that I am saving for when we have officially gone on KGRA. I'm hoping this will be the debut episode, but we're going to have, he was on once before, thanks to John, which is Robin Block, who's a producer of Aliens Expanded, talking about James Cameron's sequel and the fandom behind it. I am currently chewing through. He sent us a screener for In Search of Tomorrow, about 80s and 90s science fiction. Oh my God, yeah, the Aliens TV series that's happening. I've heard about that. We can talk about that for a few minutes too, but I want to talk about Aliens Expanded. I'm getting really stuck.
Before we get to that, and I'm sorry I'm late on this, but the Peter Bergman fan site made this question.
What about an Evil Dead cartoon? How didn't that happen? The video game is the closest thing that we've gotten, but yeah, damn straight. The territory is ripe for that, and you could really go crazy. Magitech Mags is here. Welcome. All right, you got me. Doing it again. I've been really I hurt my rotator cuff on my right arm, so I have not been lifting weights, and I can't wait to get back to it.
I'll swallow your soul.
Come get some.
But yeah, so In Search of Tomorrow, I've been chewing through. It's a 5-hour documentary, so I can't watch it all at once. But it is fantastic. So I did a little ADD thing there. Evil Dead, the animated series, a adult-oriented real Ghostbusters version. Is that kind of what we're after here? Like getting kind of into these crazy scenarios with time travel and different kinds of demons, and having Bruce Campbell voice it all. Is that what we want? I think I like the idea. Any pitches? Nope. Yeah.
No. They should continue the Ash versus the Evil Dead.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be cool to pick it up animated, maybe in that post-apocalyptic time, and maybe do something to kind of poke fun at Terminator, where he's going back in time and in different eras and fighting Deadites in that sense, going back to medieval times, or maybe doing a spoof on Sarah Connor, Tales of the Deadites. That's a good one. Rambo and RoboCop cartoons. I used to watch the RoboCop one.
I watched both of them.
I never saw the Rambo one, but I watched the RoboCop cartoon before I was ever allowed to watch RoboCop. And honestly, the first RoboCop I was allowed to watch was RoboCop 3.
Oh my.
Yeah, not a good way to start. Although the crazy broken face ninja guy, like that stands out in my mind as something that was cool. But I watched them backwards. I saw RoboCop 3, and then a friend of mine was like, I got RoboCop 2, so we watched that. And then I finally saw the first RoboCop. I really liked RoboCop 2, actually. I love that Phil Tippett stop motion thing. But yeah, the cartoon was kind of fun. I remember one episode that stands out in my mind. He went to a forest, which was really like a weird environment for RoboCop.
Look at this.
Ooh, yeah. I want to see Ash meets Jack Burton crossover. That would have been awesome. I think Tango and Cash is probably like the closest thing we got to that.
Yeah.
But that would be awesome. You know, maybe them riding around in a Bigfoot like monster truck type situation. Fighting Deadites.
Did you see My Name is Bruce?
What's that?
Did you see My Name is Bruce?
I did not see that.
Oh, what
is that?
It's Bruce Campbell playing a version of Bruce Campbell, the actor. And,
okay.
Yeah, and the supernatural creature is something that looks like Lopan.
How did I not know about this? This sounds awesome. So it's essentially the Bruce Campbell version of Nick Cage's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, you could say that. Or the other way around.
Very meta, either way. No, it sounds great. I'm definitely going to have to check that out. Bill Barkley says, did you see the live-action TV series RoboCop, The Prime Directives? No,
Yes.
I didn't. I actually forgot that that existed. Just like you said that, and I instantly also remembered that there was a Blade TV series and a Crow TV series, and I memory
Yeah.
dumped both of those. I saw the first RoboCop on VHS when it was still in theaters. It was unrated too. You know, my first again, I've said this before, but RoboCop was one of those things where I wasn't allowed to see it in the theater, but what I would do is, because there were novelizations that you could buy at the drugstore, I bought the RoboCop novelizations of 1 and 2 and read them. So that was kind of a cool experience. I felt like I was getting something, because my parents wouldn't let me see rated R movies like that. And my dad especially was just like, oh, RoboCop, that's trash, you know? So that was my way of sneaking in that experience of getting to see a movie that I wasn't allowed to see, was by reading it. So, you know, God bless the novelizations for that reason. And you know, if there's anything missing from In Search of Tomorrow, I would say it's that. It's the experience of not only there being the movies, but being, I think they do touch a little bit on some of the cartoons. I think they touch on the RoboCop cartoon, but all the spin-off products, and going back to the comic book stories as well. You know, what brought me to the comic book stores was the video stores, in the sense that, again, they were set up kind of in the same way. You would go into the video store and you see the cover, but you weren't allowed to, you know, if you were me, you weren't allowed to get the rated R stuff, but those covers were really evocative. And then you go into the comic book store and suddenly it was a different story, where, again, on the shelves were the different comic books, and there were a lot of movie franchise ones which were my gateway drug to comic books. Aliens, Predator, Terminator. Those covers were just as evocative, and you would pull them off and you'd be able to flip through them and see the stories and take them home. And, you know, I think that if there were to be an expansion of In Search of Tomorrow, which, again, 5-hour documentary, so you're asking a lot, I think that would be diving into all the media, like the comic books and the novelizations and the kids' cartoons from that era. I think that would be a lot of fun to do. And I'm going to bring that up to him because I feel like I had a good idea there. Bill Barclay says, the very excellent Mr. Dundee, Paul Hogan, is kind of like My Name is Bruce. I heard about that movie. I never saw it. That was last year, wasn't it? But you know, my understanding of Paul Hogan is, after Crocodile Dundee, he kind of became an Australian hero. Like, we didn't hear too much about him over here, except when a Crocodile Dundee 2 came out. And I think they did do a 3 and 4, I believe, but no one paid attention to those. But, you know, back in Australia, he was like a national hero, which, good for him. It's really cool. Crocodile Dundee is an excellent movie. But anyway, so going back to In Search of Tomorrow, we will be having Robin Block back on to talk about Aliens Expanded. I'll be interested. I think because of his situation in terms of, you know, his access to the Aliens franchise, I think he'd be a little hesitant to talk about Aliens Romulus or the television show in anything but a positive light. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I got the sense that he didn't really want to say anything negative within the franchise when we talked to him last. But Alien Romulus, it's from the director of Evil Dead, so it could be good. I just can't bring myself to feel excited about anything. And once I heard about the Aliens TV series and how that was all going to be about capitalism and gender roles, and the fact that there's going to be brain swapping in it, they're actually going to be transplanting human brains into other bodies and switching genders. And none of that sounds like Aliens. That sounds like somebody who has ideological ideas to push and has gotten a hold of the Aliens franchise and sees it as a vehicle for what they want, rather than servicing what the franchise originally was. I don't know if anybody here has heard anything about that, but I've taken a call. Like I said, it should be called Alien Freaky Friday, because that's essentially what they're pitching. And that's
Freaky Alien Friday.
Yeah. Stormy, what are you doing? Stormy the cat is pacing around and making me nervous. We're all stuffy today. trying to talk and breathe through my nose at the same time. But again, oh, Winston. This is the thing. Again, like I said, I titled this Evil Dead, the franchise that has never disappointed me, but I'll admit I'm nervous, and I did miss the trailer, Martin, that you were talking about, and that makes me nervous because that's not that's not what we show up for. Like in that article we read, it's like if it's Thanksgiving, you show up for pumpkin pie, and instead you get some like soy milk tofu thing that doesn't have any pumpkin in it, but maybe some seasoning that is paprika instead. So I just don't. We can hope, but ultimately, I mean, I'm going to wait for other people to see it and report back because I've gotten super gun shy with these sorts of things. I just don't want to support it. This is why I'm not going to watch any more Marvel stuff. Even if a little bit of it is good, like, oh, well, this wasn't bad, I'm still not going to watch it because I don't want to support everything that comes with it. It's kind of like I don't know, what would you call it? Like a honey trap. Maybe that's not the right word. They should do an actual good reboot of Aliens versus Predator. It's possible, for me, Aliens versus Predator has to exist in the Predator universe, separate from the Aliens universe, because they're a different mentality. Predator was always about like the hunt, the machoism. Even Danny Glover was good at being macho.
Why would I care about a Dolly Parton Funko?
Because you're the Funko guy.
I'm the Funko guy, but I don't collect stuff like that. Although it might be good to get it for my niece because she's a big Dolly Parton fan.
Somebody pitched, it was a meme. It's essentially Dolly Parton and Elvira play separated at birth sisters. One is the light and one is the darkness, and they have to team up together in some adventure. But anyway, yeah, I mean, again, I don't know. I think it's time to move on from a lot of this stuff. It's, again, what I was saying about Marvel is essentially like, yeah, we may get some, like one or two things that are all right, or even maybe good, but they're just going to give us enough of it to lure us back. And then they're going to do the bait and switch again. And we're the ones that pay for it. Just like the retailers I was saying before with the comic books, they're the ones on the front lines that have to pay for it. We have to pay for it as well. And we're just paying them to line their pockets to crap on what used to have meaning for us. And our hopes for it, the reason we keep coming back for it, at least for me, is that it was something that we could share with our children. Like a family event. We could go to the theater or watch on television together something, and there could be character not live on the stream. I'd have to go in another room, and the show's almost over. We'll get to it. The idea though that these characters and these stories are a way of us kind of passing on our values to our children in a way that's an experience that they'll remember, they'll cherish as a memory together, just like we cherished as children, going out with the family to the movies. Or I remember with my dad, we both loved Indiana Jones, we both loved Crocodile Dundee. We enjoyed those different adventure stories. My dad even loved Howard the Duck. But we would look at those characters and we would talk about those stories, and then we found them useful in our own lives. Not that we were searching for the Ark of the Covenant or anything like that, but we understood what it meant to be heroic, to be brave, to put yourself before others, to be in service of the world you live in, because you have to give as much to the world around you as you take. That's not any kind of socialist thing. That's just the reality of negotiating with the world you live in. With you have to be able to give back something to contribute to society so you can function and work in it. And none of the stories today have anything to do with that. They just have to do with being snarky, with being narcissistic, with taking any situation and making it all about you, or the character, which is a self-insert for them. And it's vapid and it's vacuous and it's meaningless. And if that's all we have to offer to the next generation, then we're going to be in real trouble. So, the only way we can fix that is to not give our money to it. Because again, as long as we keep saying, I'll check that out, I'll pay to see that, maybe it'll be good. Oh, this one was good, so maybe this next one will be good. All we're doing is rewarding those people for giving us no value for our money. And the current state of the economy, I don't know about any of you, but I can't afford it. I can't afford to give them my money. My money goes to and my rent, and then I got to go and work my ass off and get more, and it's a constant struggle. So why do those people deserve the money? But anyway, Martin's trying to play me off. I thought we still had 4 more minutes.
No. I'm not trying to play you off. I'm just training. But you can go on, man. You can go wherever.
No. I think that's a pretty good place to wrap up. Although we do want to make it go. Do we want to stretch it right till 12 o'clock?
I don't see why not.
Still waiting on that Winnie the Pooh horror movie and the Barney the dinosaur movie with a horror twist. Can they do a Barney with a horror twist? I thought the Winnie the Pooh one was because it went into the public domain.
About the rights. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's the you buy that for $1. I don't even have $1 to spend. This is why I plug the Subscribe Star, because I want to bring you guys something that actually has some worth. That's why the Trek is in the shape it is now. Yeah. All this stuff is being run with people who have no values and they want the status. It's a stolen valor thing. They think they can attach themselves onto something that was important before and associate themselves with the name, and somehow that would make them special. But it doesn't. It just makes them the people that destroyed it. And yeah, it's not funny. It's not fun, to quote your boy, Zach. I want to have some fun. I want to have a good time with my family, and I want to instill some values in them that hopefully when I'm an old man and they're grown, they'll take those lessons and find them useful and use them to take care of me and to take care of the generation that comes afterward. Or else we're just going to be constantly mired in this garbage. It is up to us to vote with our money or to not vote with our money. All this Banana Splits movie had a horror twist. Yeah, I saw that too. Again, I don't know. Taking stuff from the past that was from our childhood and kind of giving it a horror coat of paint. It's I mean, it's fine if you can do something that's funny with it, but your boy Zach was in the background of a prawn video. Prawn?
Oh.
Oh. Okay. I don't know what to do with that. Can anyone confirm or deny? All right. That's enough of that. I think we've said all we can say, but Ash, groovy. Remember, don't just shop smart, shop S-smart.
Groovy. Hail to the
Thanks,
king,
everyone.
baby.
I hope you have a great week, and hopefully soon we will be on KGR. No, I said that wrong. KGRA. Yes, yeah. I was saying it right. I'm very excited about that. Please join us, and hopefully soon we'll be hearing from our sponsor, Fuel Up for Life. It was good stuff. All right, Martin, let's take us out. Oh, wait, no.
See this? This is my boomstick.
We got to thank everyone in the chat. And of course, we got to thank, of course, Das Wolf and John M. Martin. Thank you to Jennifer Lawrence, Stop Stalking Me, D. Bud Martin, Scribe Light, Anima Confusa, Cam's Crash Courses, Shadow Dragon, the Peter Venkman Fan Site, Dragon Roos, Joe's Atmosphere, Farnsworth, The Tomb of Dracula, Kaylee Chow, Bill Barclay, Penny, Sean Estep, Decepticons Cave of Comics and Toys, Shinosky, CJ with Action Grip, Zax, Slasher Fred, Magitech Mags, and that's all she wrote. Everyone, thank you. Have a great week.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel. Also, please leave a comment, and we'd like to know what you thought of the episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.